Good afternoon. Today is the 29th of January, and for once we're actually recording a video that's going up actually the same day that I am filming it, just because we've had to move around some stuff in the schedule this week, so I thought it'd be interesting to do one of these. The last one we did was at about, I think, 12,000 subscribers at some point last year, so we're over G1, and I've had some questions. There's not a huge amount of them, but I hope you actually be entertained by some of these answers. I think the questions this time are actually quite good. So here we go. I'll answer these questions that people have submitted on the community page, and I think also on one of the videos that I've made. So at JC-HU1WD, sure that's not what his family call him, says, have you any plans to buy or review electric cars? How will things pan out in 5 to 10 years' time? Thing is I started reviewing electric cars a long time ago. The first electric car we had on the channel was a 2016 BMW i3, which was actually uploaded, I think, in November 2018, because a friend of mine, Mr. Jackson, actually owned it. He's had I think 3 cars on the channel, and he's a massive electric car enthusiast. He's like a pioneer, like the MGZ SEV that I filmed on my channel in October 2019 was the very first MGZS EV delivered to a customer in this country, and he owned it. Everyone who'd driven one before was either a dealer or an employee of MG Motor UK, I think, or a journalist perhaps. So yeah, that's actually still one of the most successful reviews I've done. And at the time, that was a groundbreaking car in so many ways. The deal that was on there, the package of it, I mean, they're not the nicest cars to drive I've ever had. The range these days is kind of laughable, about 160 miles. And, there are better cars and electric cars out there, but that was, one at the time. And I have viewed others: Volkswagen ID3, Volvo C40, Sanyong Corando Electric, MG4, MG4 X Power. There are a few I've done. I would probably like to do some more, but I'm always a little bit concerned if I put one on the channel, a lot of people are just going to not treat the car very fairly and not take it for what it is, and just start like a tirade of anti-electric car abuse, which, there are advantages and disadvantages to electric cars, and we pretty much all know what they are. So I'm a little bit reluctant just to get, like, even if I do see advantages to electric cars, and quite a few of them, to put them on there, just because I have to sort of deal with all the sort of stupid comments on them that aren't necessarily very fair. Some of them are perfectly balanced and founded, but I don't really want to do too much of that. I think it's a bit of a shame if people just get into arguments and don't take the car on its terms of what it is, or just get involved in politics and stuff like that. I'm unsure there's a place for all that, but I don't really like getting into too much about that. That's just my opinion. So next question is from Dino Dad. It's a much easier username to use than the last one. He says, "Sir, how long do you think normal cars up to the sort of size of a small SUV have left? We've seen the Fiesta go, and obviously the Micra and the Rio and lots of others. Are we in an era of small crossover type hatches being introduction to a car model range?" Well, at the moment, of course, the Fiesta was discontinued in 2023, and the entry point to the Ford range is the Puma, which is still based on a Fiesta platform, but it obviously makes a bit more money for Ford because they think they can charge more for it. And the Puma is not actually that bad a car. The post facelift ones, I think, are worse than the pre facelift ones, but they do drive actually quite nicely. I don't think those are sort of bad at all. But there aren't that many in Fiesta class left. I'm just trying to think. We've got the below this Fiesta, we've still got the Picanto and the i10 and the Twitter Igo X. We've still got the Dacia Sandero at the moment. That's actually a really popular car. We've got the Clio, the MG3, although that's only available as a hybrid. I think there is supposed to be a normal petrol one coming at some point. The Grande Panda is probably like a similar size to the Fiesta, to be honest, and that is going to come as a hybrid or mild hybrid or whatever it is. There are a few around, and like the way that it's happening with like with a Corsa or something like that is there's a fully electric version of that, and the V208 and the Citroen C3. So there are a few around, and I think a lot of them will be transitioning to electric power because of this legislation that we've got that's coming in 2030, and also the zero emission vehicle mandate, which I'm not a massive fan of. I think there's some fantastic electric cars, there's some fantastic combustion cars, and I think you should be able to choose what you want without kind of fear of somebody pushing you into getting something you don't need. That is just my opinion. I welcome some very good electric cars. I've driven some fantastic ones in my time, but it's just a shame that Fiesta had to go because of the reason that it did. And, like Micro and rear went the same way. So the small SUV segment's not disappearing anytime soon. No, that's not going anywhere. Particularly now the electric Puma's out, for example, which is Britain's best-selling car. So, yeah, we might see over the next few years changes in this segment, and it might disappear, but it might not. I'm not sure at the moment. So a Dreammaker 730 says, and this is a question I don't get asked a lot actually, what's your background and work history? I'm going to have to keep this relatively brief. So I actually read French and German at Durham back in the early 2000s. I thought I might become like an academic or maybe a translator, which didn't happen in the end. I did various jobs for quite a long time. I worked in the charity sector for quite a number of years. I've worked in property as well. So yeah, I've done various sort of things. One of my kind of most sort of random jobs was actually working with the military at Headley Court in Surrey for a bit. I worked there for a bit. So I always wanted to actually work out a way to put what I'd learned over many, many years. I mean, I first got into cars when I was about 3 or 4 years old, and actually make a living out of it. And I had done sort of very, quantity of informal unpaid jobs for people, finding them some cars from, I don't know how long it was, probably the 2000s onwards, really. And I decided that actually maybe, because people had told me that actually you could make a living out of this if you did it properly. And so I did. I started with people I knew, and I started doing jobs about 2017. First one was beginning of the year. It was 2017. It was a very, very simple job. It was there was a Skoda dealership on one side of the road near where I lived. There was a Kia one on the other side of the road, and my friend wanted to know whether to buy the Kia or the Skoda, and eventually she bought the Skoda. The Skoda drove better, but didn't look as nice as the Kia, and she had to decide, and that's what I think she still got that car, actually. It's a brand new one. So I started the channel in 2018 because I wanted to sort of, get into promoting the business in a different way. It's not a particularly useful tool for the business, but I suppose you could say that it's part of the business because I do receive an income from YouTube from it these days. It's not an awful lot of money, but it is an income, and that's sort of it. So I think that's all I'll say. I could say more, but we don't want this to happen to be too long a video. So I think that'll do. So Mr. Waters from Scottish Car Enthusiast and Trains TV asks, out of all the cars you've owned, what's your favourite and why? It's a really difficult question, this, because, I could give a really sort of dull answer and say that the Seat Toledo that I had when the channel started in 2018, which one of my friends still owns, was one of the better cars I've owned because it was. It was very comfortable. It was very economical. It was very spacious. Not, it drove okay. Yeah, I mean, that car I think is one of the only Mark IV Toledo facelifts that ever appeared on YouTube. It appeared on many channels at the time, and actually it wasn't a bad car. The only reason that we got rid of it is because the finance agreement sort of ran out. We could have kept it, but the warranty expired. And I'm quite a sort of believer in having at least one of the cars we have under a warranty. Tivoli's quite a good car. We've had that a long time now. We got it in 2020 to replace a Toledo. Yeah, that wasn't necessarily a bad. It's not been a bad car. We would have sold it by now, I think. Some of my favourite ones that I enjoyed, necessarily not the best cars. I had a lot of Rovers. I've had about 9 of them, and some of them have been good fun. The 45 V6 was good fun, but ultimately it wasn't suitable for daily use really anymore. So it's gone out to retirement. I've owned 3 200 R8s, and you know, they were particularly the first 2 I owned were fun in their own way. Yeah, you know, I've owned a few Volvos. I don't really know actually. It's hard to tell. A lot of the cars I've owned have been quite sort of modest and not particularly interesting to many people. The worst one's probably Astra Twin Top. That was terrible. I made a video about that at some point last year. It was an awful car. That actually, I never bought that. The C70 Volvo wasn't great either because that expired really. 460 was all right, although my lady wife didn't really want me to keep it, so we got rid of that. This S40 is not too bad either. It's been a fairly good car. I don't know really. I don't really know what more to sort of say about it really. I have a couple of videos on my channel somewhere about the cars that I've owned, but the rate of ownership in terms of going through has sort of decreased over the last couple of years. Yeah, I mean, that's probably not a very interesting answer, but I think we're going to go with what I've said. So there we go, a brief little video, just about 4 questions this time, and I hope you found that interesting. If you want, I can do another one of these and give you a bit more notice. Just let me know in the comment section below, and we can do that. So thank you ever so much indeed once again for watching. Thank you to those 4 people who submitted the questions. I think actually a lot of them were quite good this time, and we shall see you again for more, well, not particularly interesting randomness.